Welcome to Donkey Stomp. Well, today I found myself going down a rabbit hole looking into all this great savings that DOGE has found in the federal government. All this wasteful spending that they've cut and putting the country back on track to no deficit and reducing the debt and all this greatness. Well, one thing I found out that this Department of Government Efficiency really stands for the Department of Great Exaggeration. DOGE, they ain't good at math, I'm telling you. Go to doge.gov/savings. This is a site where they're going to supposedly update twice a week at least with all this tremendous fraud and wasteful spending that they're finding. And right out the gate at the top, we've saved $55 billion. Many news sources have already highlighted how, the tremendous errors. Like one error was one line item, they had $8 billion. Well, it was 8 million was the actual contract, not 8 billion. And they counted it twice. So they were counting 16 billion when it was the contract was 8 million, and the majority of that contract expense was already paid out. So essentially they only saved, I think it was like 2 million on that contract. That's just one small example of the errors within this whole department. They need to get some actuaries, I think, within the group to help them out. So the reality is, if you look at their own data that they're showing, the money that has been cut. Now, these are just eliminating these contracts. This does not include the workforce that they've eliminated. These are just the cuts of these contracts. And they have the dollar amount. So you take their dollar amount that they show you, that adds up to $7.4 billion. It's a far cry from 55 billion. Far cry. And of that 7.4 billion, 5.23 billion is within USAID, the entire department that they eliminated. So 5.23 billion, and then there's another 145 million in leases. So you subtract those two items from the 7.4 billion, it leaves like $2 billion that they've cut. Now, again, these are the remainder of the contracts that would go through the fiscal year that have been approved. A lot of these people, you can go on there and you can actually look at they have a sheet there that shows the company that the contract is with. Lots of small companies. There are going to be a lot of people being, aside from the government workers, there are going to be a lot of people in the private sector who are going to lose their jobs. When your company all of a sudden gets a $2 million cut that was unexpected, how are they going to make payroll? How are they going to keep the lights on? So they're going to be laying people off, and then that's going to kind of steamroll into, that's true trickle-down economics, where people start losing their jobs, they don't have the money to spend within the economy, and then it affects other parts of the economy. New car, they're not going to buy a new car, they're not going to buy a new washing machine, they're not going to go out for, to get, expensive coffee. That's what happens. You can look on there and you can see, and I went to some of these sites of these companies, and they're just small companies, just handful of people working there, and $3 million just cut. Government says we're not gonna honor our contract anymore with you. Gone. I feel tremendously bad for those people. So the other thing is, of that $2 billion in the entire rest of the government, that, once you take out the U.S. aid and the leases, the $2 billion, more than 200 million. It's probably, I found out there's some areas that I've missed, but 200 plus million is DEI related. So they just cut DEI activity out of every program, every department. And then they cut another 13 million plus in subscriptions to, journalism outlets. And that seemed like it's quite a bit. But I would say, it's important for our government workers to be informed of what's happening out in their industry, which is why there's a lot of subscriptions that are made within some of these very niche kind of outlets. Sometimes those are more expensive because they don't have the wide publication. So if you want to get a subscription to a very niche outlet, it costs money. If you want to have data that they gather, it costs a lot of money. They just cut all that stuff out. So I'm going to do another video on this, but while I'm talking about journalism right there, please support your at least one outlet, if not more. We get a lot of free news now. Free is expensive, and if we don't pay for it, it's going to go away, and it's going to be a vacuum, a void that's going to be hard to fill. And what it gets filled with is misinformation. So it's important that we support our local publications and journalists out there. So at least subscribe for one, if not more. Anyway, so 200 million plus DEI, another 13 million plus subscriptions. Some of the stuff you look at, there's a lot of IT stuff, there's a lot of consulting stuff, leadership building stuff. I'm going to be honest with you, when I look at some of this, I'm like, oh, why were they doing this? But if in your own place of business, you don't necessarily know why somebody doesn't give the description, the detail of anything, just a few words of what it might have been. You really don't know why something was purchased or ordered. You don't know the purpose of it. You don't know the whole parameters of what's included in that contract. So just the way that they're presenting this as cost savings is kind of a misinformation in and of itself, because there's really not enough information for us to kind of, as taxpayers and voters and citizens, to really know if that was necessary or not. Because I'm sure at your place of business, we could find a line item that just put a couple word description to it. It doesn't give you the true meaning of why that's needed. And if we say, well, we're just going to cut that. And wait, I need that, because if I don't have that, I can't, remote into this server or something like that. So there's a lot of that in there. So you'll go in and everyone's going to look at it and say, hey, I'm not sure if this looks like they're doing a great job. When you dive into it, it's a huge mirage. It's a circus. This whole thing's been a circus from the get-go. I mean, they keep making mistake after mistake after mistake. So I say it's the Department of Great Exaggeration, because they're telling us one thing and they're doing another. They're not fine. They're probably, the disruption that they're causing, it's intentional. So whether or not these things are needed is irrelevant to them, because the ultimate goal is disruption. And that's what they're doing. But so when you hear anything from DOGE or this administration saying we've saved this much, you're going to get a tax rebate, don't believe it. Because I don't trust these people as far as I can throw them, and I'm not throwing them too far. So don't believe it. You can go here and you can look at some of these numbers, and they just do not add up. I'll say it again. DOGE, they don't do math. So I hope you like this video. Please like, subscribe, and share. I also have a handle on BlueSky now, so please visit me there. Follow me on BlueSky. And for everyone out there watching, don't be afraid to lead the pace and keep stomping.